Let's go on to some good and some bad for this weekend. What a fantastic race we had at the British Grand Prix. Lando, Norris off, brilliant, got into the lead at the first corner, held it for 5 laps, which was a lot longer than I thought he would do. And then after the safety car, held off the battle of Lewis Hamilton, who was on the soft, he was on the hards, and crucially for them for 2 or 3 laps while the hards got up to temperature. But brilliant defensive work from him, kept Lewis behind. Fantastic for McLaren also. Oscar Piastri was disappointed because they lost out of a podium, no fault of his own, just on the fact of the timing of the safety car. It really played into the hands of Lewis Hamilton, and that was brilliant from him. Lewis Hamilton also stuck it on, didn't he? His stint on the mediums was brilliant. Their race pace was a lot better than they had in qualifying and throughout practice, but he's moved from Prix 7 up to a podium position. That was a fantastic result for Mercedes team, better than they could have hoped for. Alex Albon move on Carlos Sainz up into P8 was absolutely fantastic. He then went into a fight to Fernando Alonso into P7, just wasn't to be, and crucially it was tough because he had to counterbalance his attack because he had Charles Leclerc right on his gearbox, and he held him off really well, didn't it? Because at one point it looked like Charles Leclerc might sneak ahead of him, but brilliant racing from him and the Williams team finally to get up some points. And actually his teammate finished in P11, just missing out on the points, Logan Sargent, but you can take some good promise from this weekend, keep his head up. Another good race, move forward, and the P11 finish for them. Valtteri Bottas, he was started last, didn't he, because he got he couldn't give sufficient fuel sample after qualifying, so he got disqualified. He started last, and brilliant, moving up to 13th place. That Alfa Romeo showing good pace this weekend. Hopefully they can continue that going forward into the coming races. Hungary next, let's see how they get on there. McLaren, oh, you've got to say, from P2 and a P4 was just brilliant, wasn't it? Just can't, moved up to 5th in the championship. They've got 30 points from this weekend. A really brilliant result from them, more than they can probably have hoped for, and it's good news for, I suppose, for the others as well, to say, look, you can really jump up quite significantly if you make the right upgrades. McLaren have gone from nowhere up into being the 2nd fastest car on the field this weekend. Is that track specific? We'll find out next time out in Hungary. And to the bad, well, it's been a shocking weekend for Haas team. Hülkenberg was in a decent battle, and he clipped the front wing on Sergio Perez, I think it was, broke his wing. He pitted. His teammate had already gone out as well. Double DNF for the Haas team, a double DNF for the Alpine team. Ocon called in early, retired, and then Pierre Gasly got smashed out by Lance Stroll, didn't he? And that's another one bad. I mean, poor racing from Lance Stroll. He's so aggressive, he just sort of needs to reel it in a bit. He's lucky that he only got a 5-second penalty for absolutely playing bumper cars, wasn't he, with Pierre Gasly. Broke his rear suspension of Gasly, called the DNF for him, and just 5 seconds. I'm surprised at the leniency of that penalty from the stewards on that one. And Ferrari, they were so slow, weren't they? The race pace was really slow. They struggled throughout the race, and because of that, actually ultimately that sort of forced them into the wrong strategy, isn't it? What cost them, they both pitted before the safety car came out, and I think that was purely because how fast the Mercedes were catching up to them. And George Russell really held on well, didn't he, with them soft tyres, putting a lot of pressure on Charles Leclerc. Surprised though that they pitted early for their Ferrari, because they were holding him off despite the pace advantage of the Mercedes there. But there we go, they called him in, and that's the end of this segment of few good and few bad for this weekend. On to Hungary next time out. We should see a cracking race there. I'm expecting a better result from the Mercedes team with the slower corners where they excel, and that is a slow, twisty track, isn't it, Hungary? Last year they did brilliantly well there, so let's see how they battle back forward. I mean, Hamilton a podium here, I'm sure he's hoping for more, and George Russell hoping to get back on track with a couple of poor race weekends, isn't it, for him? But what a cracking British Grand Prix. The rain just held out, didn't it? and we got a cracker thanks to Lando, Norris and the McLaren team. They were absolutely brilliant this weekend. Hopefully that can continue, and that race behind Max Verstappen actually is cracking, isn't it? We've had so many different people up on the podium in the last few races. The disappointing will also be Aston Martin. Where has their pace gone? Alonso recovered decent point in 7th, but they were fighting for podium and said, look, I'm going to be on the podium of every Grand Prix going forward from here after that poor Spanish Grand Prix, and it's kind of not happened, has it, despite some upgrades. And I'm not sure if that's just because Aston Martin lost their way, or is it just the other teams have gained up on them. I'm not sure, so we'll find out next time out. But thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. Watch out for the driver ratings video coming in the middle of this week, and then for the preview of the Hungarian Grand Prix next week. I'll see you then.